Hi, I'm Paul Rivas, and I'm the Director of Smith Rivas Study Skills and Academic Coaching. We teach people how to get better grades in less time so they have more time to go do their favorite things. In this video series, I'm going to teach you everything you need to know about the college process, from exploring schools, through choosing a school, through thriving at that school. How do you start exploring colleges? Well, there's three ways to do it. Three things to keep in mind, I should say. One, it's never too early to start exploring colleges. Two, explore your local colleges at every opportunity. And three, go to the biggest college fair you can find that's reasonably nearby where you live. All right? So, let's consider this idea that it's never too early to start exploring colleges. I literally grew up at a college where my father has worked for 40 years. I worked there 20 years. Okay, I was there all the time. And when I got to 12th grade, I was still clueless about the college application process. So clueless, in fact, that I filled out a grand total of 2 college applications. 2. Right? I was clueless. I knew nothing. Okay? The thing to remember is that knowing one college really well, like I knew my hometown college really well, is not a substitute for exploring as many colleges as you possibly can. All right? So let's consider how you can explore your local colleges at every opportunity. If I think back to my childhood, I was at my local colleges for swimming lessons, summer camps, school field trips, special university programs for kids, big events. I started working there when I was 14 years old, etc., etc., etc. I was at my local college all the time for all sorts of stuff, and not just one college either, but the 3 colleges in my town. I was all over them for lots of things. You can even take virtual college tours now. If there's no colleges in your town, or if you're dying to get out of your town and the colleges you want to go to are someone else's town, you can take virtual tours now. Lots of school admissions offices provide this, either a VR tour or like an augmented reality tour, or maybe just an old-fashioned like helmet cam on a bike tour, right? So take tours of the colleges that are near you and visit with the college reps when they come to your school, okay? Colleges send admissions representatives to visit high schools and even middle schools, okay? This is super common. Go meet with those people. Now, you've done that, so you explore your college, you meet with who falls in your lap, you have been to your college for lots of stuff. Now you need to go to a big college fair. So what's a big college fair? Well, on the big end of a big college fair, you have like the national college fairs put on by NACAC, N-A-C-A-C. They put on big college fairs, national meaning there are colleges from all around the country who come to display at that fair, okay? And that is like a staggering number of colleges. So you go to one of these in a convention center in a big city, and there could be, I don't know, 500, 1,000 colleges at these things, okay? That's a lot of colleges, almost all of which are going to be completely irrelevant to your circumstances. Okay, so don't believe anything anyone tells you. They're salespeople for the college. Don't believe what they tell you, but do go talk with them and see what's going on just to get an idea of what is out there. I think in the United States there are now several thousand colleges, 3,000, 4,000, depending how you count. There's a lot of them. Okay, none of them has anything to do with you except a small handful. Those are the ones that eventually you're going to figure out what those are, right? But right now, you're just scoping it out. Okay, so then you're wondering, well, then how do I decide where to apply? how do you decide where to apply for college? Well, think of these three things first. Are you super excited to go there? Will you be academically successful there and otherwise successful? And can you afford it? So, are you super excited to go to this college that you're considering applying to? Why are you so excited about it? Is it its geographic location? Is there a significant family connection that you might have? Do they have specific programs at this college that you are really excited about? Those are reasons that you might be excited to go to some college. But you want to keep in mind that when you're 17 or 18 and deciding where to apply to college, 4 years is a long time, a big chunk of your life at that age. And what seems awesome when you're 17 might not be that awesome when you're 17 and a half, right? So you want a range of colleges. We're going to talk about this. All right, so are you going to be successful at this college that you like it for those reasons we just mentioned? You like the geography, all your family went there, they have this super cool thing you want to do, but can you be academically successful there? By that, I mean, how does your ACT or SAT score compare with the school's 25th to 75th percentile range scores for students who go there? Meaning, if your score is in the 75th percentile, then that means 3/4 of the students at your school did worse than you on the ACT or SAT, okay? That's probably what you want to aim for. Probably. Maybe, mostly. Because then you get more opportunities, right? So the opportunities go to the better students. Test scores are not a prediction of your student performance, but they are a prediction of who the other students will be. So keep that in mind. You want to be at the 75th end, then more so than the 25th percentile end. So maybe that works out for you. You found a college, you love it. It's in the wheelhouse academically. You're in the 70th, 80th percentile, okay? But can you afford this college? Things you should think about include, are you going to have debt when you graduate from this college? How much money can you reasonably expect to make, right? Like, there's places to look this stuff up, right? There's the federal labor statistics. You can look up, what can I make doing any job out there, right? And what kind of degree do I need to get it? Are you going to go to grad school? If you're going to go to grad school in a field where you have to pay, such as medicine or law or business, you might have lots of educational expenses in your future. Maybe you want to go to a less expensive college. You have younger siblings coming behind you. Maybe, they're going to maybe need to go to college, right? So can you afford this college? Now, if you're not sure yet, if you're not sure if you can afford it, are you okay with getting in, but then not being able to go? If you're going to find that emotionally crushing, then don't apply, right? Don't apply if you're going to be crestfallen if you get into this school, but you can't find a way to pay for it, all right? Okay, so now you're saying, I'm excited, I get it. When can I apply for college? When do you apply for college? It depends on the type of application you're doing, but you want to write your college application late summer before 12th grade. And no matter what, finish all your applications by Thanksgiving. So it depends, like when you apply depends on the type of your application. For example, if your school has a rolling application deadline, you can apply whenever you want, as soon as they turn the application on, possibly as early as like July, and hand it in whenever, and they'll look at it after you hand it in, okay? You might apply something called early decision or early action or single choice early action, and this means generally you've got a deadline somewhere between October 15 and November 1 of the fall of your 12th grade year. If you apply regular decision, what they call regular decision, that could be as early as November 30th for the universities of California. It could be most commonly January 1 for lots of places. And then there are places, plenty of schools, lots of schools, hundreds, maybe thousands, I don't know, who take applications even later than that. So, but certain things you got to do them earlier, and that would be like early decision or early action stuff, right? Now, early decision applications, remember, those require you to attend that college if you get accepted and can afford it. So if you apply to University X, early decision, and they accept you, then you have to go unless you can prove that they didn't give you enough financial aid for you to afford to go there. Got that? All right. So now when are you going to do this? You're going to write this late summer before 12th grade starts. You're going to get almost, if not all of it done before 12th grade starts, right? Right. Okay, now what does that include? Well, you've got all like the basic info, like, name, address, parents, that kind of thing. You're going to describe how you spent your time in high school, so your activities, okay, usually up to 10 or so. You're going to write some essays. You'll probably have to write at least one essay. You could have to write as many as like 20 essays, believe it or not. And you're going to include a couple forms by your teacher recommenders and your counselor, but you're not going to see those. They're going to handle that on their end. And then you've got a space to tell the college anything else that you want to tell them, more or less. So how do you approach this work? You've got to decide what message you're trying to convey to the college before you begin the writing in earnest, right? You have to know what message you want them to receive. The readers can only remember 2 or 3 things about you. What 2 or 3 things do you want them to remember? And then you hammer on those 2 or 3 things throughout your application so that there is one cohesive message that the college readers can understand, and that is, if we take this student, we're getting this, this, and this. Right? Figure out what those things are before you write your application. That way, you can let your teachers who are recommending you know what message you're trying to convey, and they can further reinforce that message in their recommendations or complement it. Finish everything by Thanksgiving, okay? Please finish everything by Thanksgiving. The beginning of December is full of tests in school, in high school. There's always a whole round of unit tests right before winter break. So you don't want to be having to prepare for a test every night in the 2 weeks leading up to your application deadline. You don't want to have to be writing it over winter break when you'd rather be doing something fun. And the closer you get to the January 1 deadline, the worse your application is going to be, because you're going to start to get concerned and possibly stressed out about what it's going to look like, okay? Worse than all that is having to do that work close to the deadline, during break, after an exhausting round of tests, after you just got deferred or rejected from the colleges you applied to in the early decision or early action period. That is a terrible feeling. That's why we want you to get everything done by Thanksgiving before you hear from your early round colleges in the middle of December. Yeah? So now that you know a little bit about the application process, you can envision yourself applying to, say, half a dozen or a dozen colleges that fit your criteria. Now you're wondering, this sounds awesome, but how will I choose where to go? How am I going to choose a college to go to? How do you choose where to attend college? You got into a bunch of nice places, but how do you choose where to go? Well, does the college have what's important to you now? Now being probably March or April, when you find out, assuming you didn't find out at an early one and already commit to going there. When you filled out your application, that could have been like July, August. Now it's April. So you're several months smarter, because at your age, you're getting smarter. Every day you wake up in the morning, you're smarter than you were the day before. So you have more experience, you have more ideas. maybe what you initially thought you wanted is not as important to you now. So does the college that you're thinking of going to, does it have what you want now, you, the April of 12th grade version of you? Are you going to need a certain GPA for grad school later on? Some graduate programs, some graduate fields require really high GPAs, such as medicine. If you want to go to medical school in the United States, you need a really high undergraduate GPA, preferably 3.7 or higher. Okay, that's pretty high. If you don't have that, your chances of going to a medical school in the United States are very low, right? So if you need that high GPA for grad school, you really want to make sure you choose a college where you can get a really high GPA, right? And that would probably not be a college where you were in the 50th percentile for test scores, especially at a big school where they don't have room for everybody and they have classes that are intentionally difficult for lower level students. And then the last main thing you want to consider with how you choose to attend is like, it has the stuff you want. Do you need certain grades? And what about the money aspects? Will going to college A save you money over going to college B? Will going to college B reasonably lead to a job that would make it worth it to have paid that surcharge? These are the things we're going to talk about. So, does the college have what's important to you now? For example, when I applied to college, I knew deep down in my soul and had known for 4 or 5 years that I wanted to study abroad in Mexico City with real Mexicans at a real Mexican university. I was committed to doing this. I required that my university offer this option, okay? But I also kind of thought I wanted to go to Stanford. But Stanford didn't offer a Mexico study abroad program in those days. They only had Spain. That was one of several deal breakers for me with Stanford, but that was one that was like super important to me, right? In a way that I felt very strongly and that I could understand. Whereas perhaps another reason I didn't go to Stanford was the cost, and that I had a fuzzier understanding of because, I was an 18-year-old who at that time had only ever made $8 an hour, and I couldn't really fathom the cost on a useful level. So when you're thinking about what's important to you, evaluate how have your plans changed since the summer when you wrote your application? What new ideas do you have? What new things have you discovered? What things have you just not been keeping up with and thus are maybe not so interested in anymore? So what about this idea of GPA? Are you going to need a certain GPA for grad school? Well, you do for medical school, you do for the super competitive professional schools, right? Certain law schools, certain business schools who would help to have really high grades. That would be more convincing than having, otherwise you're going to have to write something super brilliantly convincing to make up for the fact, to demonstrate that you are that smart with the low grades. So it's always easier to just have high grades. You have more options. And how do you know if your test scores can compare with other students' test scores? Well, you use something called the Common Data Set, where all colleges put their information in there, and you can see very clearly what the profile is like of students who you would be in school with. And that will help you decide whether you can be academically successful there, if that's something you're anticipating needing to be, which is not everybody needs that. So what about the money thing? How do you decide finance-wise? Well, if you want to work on Wall Street, you should really go to an Ivy League school, and it might be worth the money. You have to figure out the added cost of going to an Ivy League. Let's say you want to work on Wall Street, and we know that you have a much better chance if you go to Princeton. Okay, and let's say you get into Princeton, but you also get into your local public university. You're going to have to figure out if the added cost of going to Princeton, including trips home at the holidays, is going to be worth it to your family versus the expected return of getting the fancy job that you think you want now as an 18-year-old, but that who knows if you'll still want it when you're 21 or 22, right? Okay, so you get the point. The point is college is expensive, right? Now you're wondering, how can I save money on college? How can you save money on college? It's simple and it's fun. You work 10 hours a week. You study abroad for part of your time in a country where things cost less than the United States. And you use your great study skills to graduate early. Sweet. So how's that work? Okay, you work 10 hours a week. Every first-year student has time to work 10 hours a week, okay? If you work 10 hours a week for 4 years, at $10 an hour, then you've saved, about 12 grand after 4 years. Awesome, okay? Maybe you get $15 an hour. Maybe you go to college in DC where the minimum wage is nearly $15 an hour. And then you're making, then you've got 18 grand at the end of 4 years of college, right? So do you want to graduate college or do you want to graduate college with 15 grand in your pocket, right? Which one sounds more appealing, okay? So that doesn't even count summers, right? What about summers? If you do nothing but work over the summers, you could finish college, oh my gosh, you have 25 grand, right? That'd be awesome, and that's pretty rare, right? So you want to look for jobs that are going to help you build skills relevant to your career goals. A job is a job is a job, and money is money, and that's fine, but some jobs, in addition to paying you money, they might pay you in meaningful experience relevant to your career that will help you advance and make a living wage at something you really are excited to do. So look for jobs that kind of align or that you can at least connect to your longer term employment goals. So study abroad, so you work a little bit and then you're going to study abroad, okay? So study abroad for 6 months or more in a country where life costs less than in the United States, which is pretty much everywhere, okay? You're going to save money on rent in those places, and you're also going to save money, well, you could potentially, if you were resourceful, save and patient, and had a lot of tolerance for bureaucracy, you could even save a ton of money on tuition by directly enrolling at a foreign university for a semester or two rather than paying your host university to shepherd you to the foreign university. Okay, almost every country has cheaper housing and cheaper college than the United States. And college-wise, cheaper often means free. So you do all that and you come back and you're like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. I just studied abroad in country X for 6 months. It was rad. Okay. Now I have all these ideas about the world and I just want to be done with school and go kick butt in life. Okay. So how can I graduate early? Well, study skills, right? Study skills. You take one extra class per semester and you can finish a semester early. And you could do that after returning from study abroad, depending on when you go, right? You finish a semester early, you just saved yourself one whole semester in tuition. If you're wondering what that is, well, take a look at some of the colleges that interest you. It's probably somewhere between $5,000 and $25,000, something like that, for finishing one semester early just by getting better grades in less time and taking one extra class per term for 3 or 4 terms. All right, so now you can totally see yourself getting your money's worth in college and having an awesome time, and you're starting to think that you're going to have some big, awesome life there. And you're picturing yourself in a super sweet single room in the dorms. And then you see the price of the single room, and you're like, I can't afford a single room, okay? What then? You're wondering what it's like living with roommates. It's simple. It sucks. Okay? Too bad. Find value in the interesting differences that you have with your roommates and see the sucky roommate experience as an opportunity to get good at living with roommates, which will save you tons of money in your single life after college through your 20s, 30s, 40s, however many years you think about living alone versus living with randos. It will save you tons of money if you get good at living with randos, all right? So, it sucks, true, but it probably doesn't suck as bad as my friend Bubba's dorm situation at UC Berkeley. He was a transfer student, Santa Barbara City College to UC Berkeley. He got put in a room intended for 2 freshmen. He got put there as a grown-up, a 20-something-year-old, okay? And they slammed 3 people into the room, all right? So you've got my 250-pound friend Bubba. You've got a 6'8" guy, okay, in a room intended for 2 18-year-olds, okay? And then you've got a third guy, okay, who's only 170 pounds, but is a gnarly porn addict, okay? Roommates suck. You should be out exploring anyway. There is no terrible roommate situation that lots of people like Bubba didn't have to endure before you. You'll be fine. Just go out and explore your college, okay? So if you come home and you get stuck in the room with these people, say it's a snow day, all right? You got to find value in your interesting differences with them, okay? My roommate in college, my first roommate ended up being an astrophysicist, okay? So I learned a lot about that for a couple years, okay? Until I thought I knew it all. Then I switched roommates, and that roommate was a frat dick, all right? So I had no interest in Greek life, but darn if I didn't learn a lot about Greek life living with that guy, right? He knows who he is. So you never know when your roommate's interests are going to come in handy for you, right? I thought that suffering my frat dick roommate was just building character. In fact, it was educating me on how the nuances of Greek life and what it really means to be in a third-tier fraternity. And now I find that useful when people ask me about Greek life on campuses, right? So there you go. You never know what the point's going to be. Appreciate your time living with people who do things differently from you, all right? If you get good at this, you're going to be able to live in group houses as an adult, save money, and make the house what you want it to be, okay? This is really the value of getting good at living with roommates in college. If you can somehow help your roommates be better roommates and figure out what to you means, what being a good roommate means to you, then you get good at picking roommates and you can make an awesome group house where everybody is inspired and inspiring and it gets super fun. This is real. You can do this if you get good at dealing with different kinds of people, all right? So maybe you're thinking, okay, but I'm not too worried about that. I get along with everybody. How am I going to make friends? How do you make friends in college? It's pretty simple, I think, okay? Get a job, right? There's other people. Get a job, join 3 clubs or other similar activities, and go to as many events as possible. Job, clubs, events. All right, so let's see. So what do I mean? So get a job, all right? My college friends are actually the people that I worked with in college. That's not the people I had classes with. My friends, from when I think about my college friends, they're the people I worked with in college. And in fact, those people weren't even college students. They were grown-ups several years, 7, 10 years older than I was at the time. So get a job and you're in this thing together with the people you're working with. No matter what the job is, you're going to make friends with them. But the closer the job aligns with your career goals, I think the more likely it is you are to remain friends with these people, right? I think if you meet them working as a dishwasher in the dining commons and you don't expect to go into the hospitality industry, I think if you did expect to go into that industry, you would meet people like that in that job and you'd get more out of it, right? So, the closer your job aligns with your career goals, the more friends you're likely to make, right? Okay, so then you're going to join some clubs, all right? So I would always suggest you join one club for your favorite thing, whatever that is. Okay, colleges have hundreds of clubs now. Every college has 300 clubs, right? One for your favorite thing, one for a thing you've always wanted to try, and one wacky new thing, all right? So thing to remember about joining clubs is, don't be afraid to get super into it. You're like, oh wow, do I really want to be this? Do I really want frolfing to be this big part of my life? Maybe I do, right? Don't be afraid to get super into it. Don't be afraid to drop it entirely, right? You go to the LARP club thinking it's like something other than what it is, and you're like, oh, this is not for me. Don't worry, you don't have to go back, okay? And then don't be afraid to try some weird stuff, something that sounds silly and a waste of time to you, because whatever weird thing sounds stupid to you at your college, there are 100 people who are super into it and know more about it than you ever could, and it's fun to learn from those people, all right? So finally, you're going to go to as many events as you can, okay? There's events out the wazoo in college, and they're more often than not free, okay? Free music, free movies, free art shows, free hikes, free talks, free opportunities to make the world a better place, okay? There's a lot of free events, okay? Go to that stuff. And remember that you'll have better conversations with new people at these events if you do it after your schoolwork is finished, okay? Get your schoolwork done during the hours of the day in which your brain is working well, morning-ish to dinner time-ish, and then after dinner, go do fun stuff. You'll get more out of it if you don't have an 8-page paper hanging over your head that's due the next day while you're out watching this free movie, right? Okay, so you like the sound of this. You're saying, this sounds great. Okay, college, yeah, that sounds great. Making friends, okay, got it. But how do I get a job? If I need a job to make friends, how do I get a job? How do you get a job in college? First, update your resume at the very beginning of summer, after you graduate high school, and at the very end of summer, right before you pack up to go to college. Make friends with people who have jobs, right? So the friends, when you're sniffing out friends, find people who have jobs. Make friends with those people. And most importantly, in the college environment, and this sounds insane, be prepared to apply 6 months ahead of time. Seriously, you'll see why. So, update your resume the day after you graduate high school, and then go work, get a bunch of awesome jobs, as many as you can that summer, and then update your resume again right before you pack up to go off to college. You're going to be too busy doing fun stuff once you get onto campus. So being on campus in the first 3 weeks of your freshman year is no time to be trying to update your resume. You want to show up with a polished resume, and then you'll run circles around the other students who maybe haven't even had jobs yet, right? So you're going to make friends with people who have jobs, because then they can recommend you for a position if one becomes available at their place of work, right? You're going to hear them talking about their job, because what else are they going to talk about? And you're going to say, oh, that sounds pretty fun, or that sounds like a place I could get my homework done for $10 an hour. And then, boom, you got the inside track, right? Making friends with people who have jobs will also assure you that you have plenty of time to work 10 to 20 hours a week as a college student. Anybody who tells you otherwise, they're either lying to you or they're afraid, okay? But in college, there's almost no schoolwork. Seriously, look it up. And you have time to work 10 to 20 hours a week, and you need money, right? Every college student needs money that their parents don't know they have for various things. Okay, so you want to be you're going to have your awesome resume. You're going to get some jobs, make your resume even more awesome, so that when the time comes to apply for one of these sweet jobs on campus, you are ready to go. And by that, I mean the most demanding, high-paying, prestigious jobs on campus have lengthy application processes, like the year before you apply to do something the next school year, right? So you apply for something in March that's going to run from September through May, for example. This is super common. Okay, the best jobs, they're all like that, and those jobs are not available to first-year students. So don't think you're going to get some awesome high-paying job in your rookie year. You're not. But if you do a great job at a regular job, then you've got people on campus who say, hey, this person is really good, and then boom, someone else on campus might be more inclined to pay you something like $18 an hour to teach study skills to a group of undergraduates, which is what my university used to pay the study skills instructors who I hired to be peer teachers, right? So it's pretty good. Now, so you're going to go get a job. You're going to get a job. It's going to be great. And you get in this job, and you're wondering, yeah, I like it here, but I really want like more guidance. Like I want to get as much as I can out of this awesome job. How do I find someone to mentor me? How do you find mentors? Well, first, visit every instructor's office hours every month, right? Every one of your instructors, not every instructor. Next, find anyone who's more experienced than you at what you're doing. They can help you. And then remember that mentorship relationships are a two-way street. Okay? It's not just them taking pity on you. It's not. So, office hours, you want to go visit one teacher per week. Okay? So, let's say you've got 4 teachers. You want to go pick one teacher each week and go visit them in their office for 10 or 15 minutes. Okay? One a week, and that's going to average out to about, you see every teacher every month, more or less. Okay? When you do this, you want to bring one question and one comment or thought or connection that occurred to you between what you're working on in class and what you already have in your huge brain, okay? And that's to kind of break the ice, and so you and the professor, I have heard professors say that they prefer it when students bring questions to office hours and don't just show up, like a puppy, right? So bring questions, bring comments, and remember this when you get there. Life is about making friends with old people, okay? The old people have the money and the jobs that you need, okay? You're going to need friends of all ages, older than you. Make friends with people, particularly the old ones. Professors make good old people friends. Anyone more experienced than you can mentor you, okay? So talk with the older students on your floor. Talk with the students who are in your first-year student classes because they failed them the year before. Talk with the graduate student teaching assistants that you may have if you go to a larger school. Talk with your supervisors at work. Talk with any grown-up who works on campus who looks like they're daydreaming, okay? Talk with anybody older than you or more experienced than you, okay? You are a rookie right now on a one-person squad. Okay, you need to grow your squad with veterans, okay? Go find people who know more than you do, okay? College is full of those people, all right? So then remember once you, you make friends with these people, they want to help you, they find you not only interested in wanting their help, which feels good to them, but they find you actually genuinely interesting, which then makes it worth their while to help you beyond just the satisfaction of, doing a good deed. So you're doing your mentors a favor by being your interesting self and wanting to know stuff that they know about that you haven't figured out yet, all right? So now you're thinking, okay, but I have this insane this insane experience in mind that I want to go have, and how am I going to find somebody who's ever done that before? Well, okay, so keep in mind, everybody has done everything before. You've never thought of anything that hasn't been thought of a gazillion times, okay? You're like, no, what if I want to move to Argentina and come back home from Argentina on the bus? And I want it to take 4 months. I want to spend 4 months riding buses from Argentina to the United States. What then? How do you study abroad in college? Well, first, remember that every trip has been done before. Thousands of people far less capable than you have gone and done the awesome thing that you are now wondering if you can do. Okay, it's all been done before, you can do it. You want to prioritize studying with locals, meaning if you're going to country X, you want to take classes with people who are actually from country X. Yeah? And one of my favorite benefits of study abroad that you want to consider is part of the point of going is to get a different perspective on your favorite subject. So if you're majoring in literature, you might think you know a lot about literature until you get to a college in Latin America where the literature majors only take classes on literature 8 times per semester for 4 years and never do anything but that. So you get there as a college junior having taken 6 classes on literature, not realizing that those juniors have taken 5 or 6 times the amount of literature classes that you have, and they have something to say about it that hasn't occurred to you, all right? So every trip has been done before. You want to move to Argentina and then hang out there for a while and take the bus home, okay? I did that, all right? It's been done before. Anyone can do it. You can do it, okay? So remember, the whole point is to live meaning amongst, okay? Live with the local people, all right? Studying with Americans or other international students is basically just a glorified field trip, all right? You want to be studying with the real people from country X, yeah? The whole point of going abroad is to be invited back by the local people. To do that, you have to be rubbing elbows with the local people, all right? So you're going to get a different perspective on your major when you study abroad, okay? Now, you can do this in a few ways, all right? You could go take classes in English in a country where everyone speaks English, okay? You can think of some of those countries, right? Maybe some that you don't usually think of, right? Maybe you want to go to Ghana, okay, where they do school in English. Fine. You could take classes taught in English in a country where they speak something that the rest of the world is not likely to learn soon enough, and they do university in English. Like, for example, Denmark or the Netherlands. You could go do a program in English there, and it'd be fine, right? Even though you don't speak Dutch or Danish, right? Now, you could also do what I did, which is go to Mexico and take Mexican and Spanish literature classes with real Mexicans. But you should only do that if you speak the language before going. Don't go abroad to learn a language. Learn a language before you go. If you go to learn it, you won't learn it. You'll just speak English the whole time. Don't believe me? Ask anybody who ever went to Spain for a semester or France for a semester without being a fluent speaker first. So, that sounds good. Study abroad. What doesn't sound good about study abroad, right? It's awesome. I think it's one of the greatest ways to add value to your college experience, okay? Another really great way you might be wondering about, research. What if you want to do research as an undergrad? How do you get involved in research as an undergrad? Well, one way, there are actually study abroad programs whose emphasis is research. Okay, they focus on research. That's cool. That's one way to do it. If you don't want to do it abroad, or maybe you want to spend your time abroad doing other things, then take a look at your home university's undergraduate research website, okay? Most schools, any school that's going to encourage or at least be open to undergraduate research, they're going to have some website summarizing the various ways you can get involved. Take a look at that. And then, perhaps most importantly, and perhaps first, go knock on the doors of your cool professors and see what they're working on. So the study abroad programs that focus on research, there's a couple. Some of them, that's all you do is research. And when you do those, you're probably going to be with other Americans. So that would not be my preference. Others of them, there's a significant research component that is optional and available to you on top of your regular classes. That's what I would probably encourage you to gravitate toward, right? You want to be with the local people, but again, college is almost nothing to do schoolwork-wise, so you're going to have time, so don't be afraid to get involved in research, even in another country, all right? When you're looking at the options available to you at your home college campus, take a look at the website, and you have to understand that what's on the website, the research listings, okay, that's not all of the research jobs that are available. Those are just the jobs that somebody could be bothered to post to the university research jobs website, right? So ask every professor who's doing something interesting to meet with you. How do you know if they're doing something interesting? Well, read their bio, right? Read their webpage. If they're doing cool stuff, ask to meet with them, just to hear more about it and how they got involved. Maybe you want to do it, maybe not, depends what it is, but you got to start somewhere. So you're gathering information. Go start with the professors that you can put your finger on after class, right? So knock on their doors, and if they're cool, then they're probably working on something cool and that might interest you, right? So give that a try. Remember, you might be like, oh, but they're a professor. I'm just a freshman. I don't know anything. Okay, never underestimate your professor's interest in getting free help, okay? Every professor has to raise their own money. Okay, money's hard to come by. Who wouldn't love to have a bilingual American just back from a year abroad doing research for free on their linguistics project, right? Piece of cake for them. Good deal for you, right? Okay, so you love research. You did the research. You had an awesome experience. You worked on some really cool thing for a year. Maybe even got your name published on a paper. Oh my gosh, that's a big deal, right? Does that mean you should go to grad school? Should you go to grad school? No, unless you find it professionally necessary. No, unless you want to study a single topic intensely for 1 to 15 years. And no, unless you can afford it and you can't think of anything else to do. All right? So, who finds it professionally necessary to go to grad school? Well, those are people that want to be in professions that require specific degrees. For example, maybe the job you want, everyone who ever did it had an MBA, then you're going to need an MBA, okay? Maybe in your state, you have to have gone to law school to be a lawyer, right? Okay, well then if you want to practice law in that state, you're going to need to go to law school, okay? Maybe you want to be a doctor, right? You need to go to med school if you're going to be a doctor in this country. That's how we do things, okay? So all those kinds of professionally necessary graduate programs, those are the kind that you have to pay for out of pocket. That's not the kind that they pay you to do, like my astrophysics roommate in college who went and did his PhD in astrophysics. Okay, he got paid to do that. Not a lot, but paid. Okay, that's not this kind of grad school, right? The professionally necessary kind, that's you pay them, right? Okay, now it is true that it is professionally necessary if you want to be a university professor to have a PhD, and that in PhD you probably get paid a little bit, so that is a small exception. But before you get too excited about that, consider that A PhD is going to be 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 or 9 or 10 or 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 years studying one thing for, oh my gosh, like probably 5 or 6 years. So if you can't think of something you want to study intensely for 5 or 6 years, then that option is not for you, right? What if you just want to do a master's program, which is 1 or 2 years full time? Okay, that's fine, but during those 1 or 2 years, you're basically putting the rest of your life on hold to learn a lot about one thing. Either because you're obsessed with it and you can't imagine doing anything else, or perhaps you have infinite funds and it doesn't matter and you can pay, you don't care what things cost. That's cool too, okay, right? You might learn a lot in grad school, whether you do 1 or 15 years, okay? You might learn a lot, you might not learn much. But it's definitely going to be expensive, either in money or time, right? And unfortunately, there's no guarantee that you're going to finish just because there are requirements in place, right? A lot of people don't finish PhDs, right? So forget about grad school for now. You'll be fine. Forget about grad school, okay? Let's just focus on how can you get ready to go to college. How do you prepare to actually attend the college you've chosen to attend to? Once you know you're going, you send in your deposit and you sign the thing and okay, you're going to college X. All right, get pumped. What do you do? Well, explore the physical campus thoroughly. Pay extreme attention to all college-related materials the school sends you, especially in the summer before you go. And tell all the local to that area, friends of friends that you have there that you would like to meet up. All right, so exploring the physical campus thoroughly, that's I think, that's a super fun thing to do, right? If it's close, you go bike all over the campus. Like if you're going to college in your own town like I did, summer before you go, you bike all over that thing, figure out where everything is, right? I did the same thing at my high school. The summer before 9th grade, I rode my skateboard all over San Marcos High School, figuring out where everything was, okay? That seemed like a good thing to do to me. I don't know. Maybe that's why I'm sitting here now, okay? If your college is too far away, use Google Street View, right? Go cruise around your college using Google Street View and see what the place looks like. See if you can navigate it, right? Also, study the map, okay? Study the map. UC Santa Barbara has a building called Gervets Hall, and it has another building in which lives the Gervets Graduate School of Education. Okay, one's Gervets, one's Gervets, nothing to do with each other. Okay, you want to figure that out on the map before you show up looking so obviously like such a dumb freshman. All right, don't do that. So compare. The whole point of exploring the physical environment before you get there is to have that reckoning of what you thought it was going to feel like versus what it actually feels like. Things that seem big are going to seem super small. Things that seem right there on the map when you get to them are going to actually be like uphill both ways in the snow, right? So first you're going to explore the physical campus, and then you're going to turn your attention to dealing with all that junk that they're going to send you before you start school, and you should deal with it all, right? There's a lot of it, deal with it. Set up any account they tell you to set up. Get any essential supplies that you have been convinced that you really need, okay? They don't have to be expensive, but you want to be ready. You don't want to be scrambling, doing errands for stupid stuff in like your first week of school, okay? You're just trying to get a feel for the programming at the university, the stuff that is inside the buildings that you are biking past on a summer day, right? What the heck goes on in these places, okay? Once you figure that out a little bit, you can show up to college with a list of things that you want to check out once you get there. That gives you a huge advantage over the other people who thought it would be just cute to like show up and figure it out when you get there. It's not. It's dumb. And you're trying to get your money's worth here, right? So the last thing, and perhaps the hardest thing for most young people to do, would be tell all the friends of your friends who live near your new college that you'd like to meet up with them, right? What? Why would I do that? I don't know these people. They don't know me. No. Okay, who do you know? Who do your friends know? Who do your parents know? Who do your parents' friends know that live in the area that you're moving to? Okay, you have no idea how these semi-randos can help you. Okay, let them try to help you. You will be shocked at how helpful semi-strangers can be when they know what you're interested in and that you're cool. So, what about the professors? Okay, you get the hang of the campus, all right? You get the hang of the programming there, you know what's available, but what about these professors, right? Maybe you've never dealt with a college professor before. What's up with them? Who works at colleges anyway? Basically, almost nobody you meet is a professor. What? I thought colleges had professors. They do, but they also have every other job under the sun, okay? Colleges are like tiny cities, all right? They need people to do lots of different jobs, okay? One of those jobs is called professor, and there's not that many people who do it relative to some of the other jobs, all right? Mostly you're going to be dealing with staff. Those are people who work at the college who are grown-ups but are not professors, okay? So you're going to get to know all the adults in case you ever need their help. You're going to get to know them before you need their help, all right? So basically, no one you meet is a professor, okay? You're going to meet lots of students. You're going to meet some grad students if your college has graduate students. You're going to meet the regular people who pay their rent by working at the college. Okay, you're going to meet something called lecturers. They might look like professors. They're not professors. They're lecturers. Lecturers just teach. They don't have to do research, right? And they often don't get to stay for more than 3 years, okay? And then you've got the professors. The professors are the happiest because they're the hardest to fire, right? That's why being a professor is a sweet job. Okay, so mostly you're dealing with staff. Okay, you may have 4 or 5 professors in a semester, but you're going to probably have to deal with 40 different other adults in your, week-to-week college life in the course of a semester. Okay, these are people like the advisors within the college, within your greater college, the advisors in your major office, the adults who supervise the older students who supervise your dorm floor. The people who work in the student health center, the counselors, the psychological service people, the people who make accommodations for help facilitate accommodations for like extra time on tests or other materials, right? Okay, you are doing these people a favor by going and asking for their help. They show up to work every day because there's a 1 in 10,000 chance that someone might give them a heartfelt thank you. That's why they go. If you do that for them, you are then helping them feel good about helping you the next time with the bigger thing you need help with. So, there's tons of jobs, and by tons of jobs, I mean like stuff you wouldn't believe is a job, okay? My college, there was a job that was this: sit on the roof of the library and count the airplanes that go by. Okay, that's a sweet job. Don't you want to know who does that job, right? Wouldn't you want that job? Okay, there's a job. I saw a dude whose job was walk to every bulletin board on campus and pull out decades worth of staples out of the cork. Spent the whole summer doing this, okay? That's an interesting job, right? Who would do that? Don't you want to know that guy, right? There's people who get paid to book big performers to come do shows for students. That's a fun job, right? There's people who get paid to run the university bike shop. I mean, there's tons of fun jobs. Pretty much anything that you would want to do in the real world, somebody is doing on some scale at the university, and they would be happy to have you tag along. So the weirder the job, the better. Go meet the adults at your college. The value of college is everything that's not the school piece, okay? The school piece, you can get it free at the public library or on YouTube. The relationships and the connections you make at the college with ideas and people, okay, that's what college is about. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you have more questions about the college process, call me on Praxi. It's a paid service where I give impartial, expert advice on everything related to college. Just use the link.